Shalom, shalom. My name is Nathaniel. I am the elder and judge with MASHAYACH with the Torah law enforcement, along with my brother here, who's also an elder and a judge, and he goes by the name of Parazah Yasha'Allah, and we're here to discuss an pertinent matter that regards our nation, which is tribal division. You know, what is tribal division? It's unhealthy. And what do the scriptures speak about tribal division? So with that being said, let us get started in the scriptures. Isaiah, the 58th chapter, verse 1.
Cry aloud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet.
So we are crying aloud, even though we're trying to keep our voices down on the inside, but we're lifting up our voices to speak against the evil of this discord that's being sowed among our brothers and among our sisters with this tribal division. Continue.
And show my people their transgressions.
And we're trying to show our people their transgressions according to the Torah, according to the beliefs and the laws, statutes, and commandments that are found in the Holy Bible. That's what we're trying to do. And to show that the Heavenly Father never meant for us to have division among the tribes. He meant for us to come together, and the scriptures will clearly explain that as we continue. Go ahead.
And the house of Jacob their sins.
And our job is to show the house of Jacob. What is the house of Jacob? The 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, which are the so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Dominicans, Panamanians, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, North American Indians, Seminole Indians, Argentinians, Chileans, Colombians, Brazilians, Uruguayans, and Mexicans of North, Central, and South America, to show these people their transgressions that they have committed against the Heavenly Father according to the Torah. Go ahead.
So YAHAWAH, he's telling us to spare not, which means that a lot of you brothers that we know, maybe once upon a time we could come and talk to you all, one-on-one about this belief that you are starting to push upon the children of Israel. But at this point, there's too many of you spreading these lies around about how some Israelites are Canaanites and how the Israelites are only Negro, going back and forth, so we have to speak about it generally. We can't come to you brothers individually anymore because there's too many of you picking up these beliefs. All right. Now the scriptures, YAHAWASHI tells us that if you commit a transgression against a brother, go to that brother one-on-one. You brothers haven't committed transgressions against us personally. You commit a transgression against what we stand for and the tribes that we represent as MASHAYACH. So we standing as one man. So you're offending the whole nation. All right. You're offending the whole nation, not just us, but other brothers that are of indigenous Native American descent that have been in the Americas, scattered through captivity, through oppression, and through conquest.
And you've been public with this outcry and this disagreement and this doctrine, and you have sown the seeds of division. And this is why we're crying out aloud, because this division is preventing us from coming together as commanded according to scriptures when you read in Zephaniah 2:1. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom must come together for us to receive salvation. Okay, you can't have one without the other. And for you brothers and sisters that don't believe that, you're basically being outcast from the nation, because the nation is about coming together under one accord.
Yeah, and another thing real quick before we go into Ezekiel 37 is that some of you brothers may wonder why didn't you come to me one-on-one? Why didn't you come and talk to me about you disagree with what I'm teaching? Well, brother, you should have done the same thing. You brothers know I'm a Gadite. You brothers know I have wives from the tribe of Zebulun, from the tribe of Ephraim, all right, from the tribe of Gad, and from the tribe of Judah. All right, you didn't come to me. You brothers know that we have brothers that we deal with that are from other tribes that are not of Negro fathers. You brothers didn't come to us one-on-one and tell us, hey, I don't believe that you're an Israelite no more. So don't expect any kind of special treatment when we respond publicly to lies that you've been teaching publicly. If you wanted a private discussion with us about what you're teaching, you should have come to us and have a private discussion before you started teaching it. When you put yourself on Front Street and you start making videos about Negro only or about Negro only Israelites, or you start making videos about Canaanite, you putting yourself on a public forum. And we have the right and the responsibility to address you on a public forum. All right? So that's exactly what we're doing. Now, if you want a private conversation, that conversation needs to take place from the Torah. We've had brothers speak with you, but these brothers are not really dealing with the Torah. So if you want to have a difference of doctrine about who I am, I'm from the tribe of Gad. I'm not a so-called Negro. Don't let your eyes deceive you. My grandfathers were in America before the European and before the tribe of Judah got there. And that's the problem with you brothers. You going off of what somebody looked like. And we're going to bring out scriptures to show you how Israel been scattered all around the earth. And you don't know what they look like. They don't have one certain kind of look anymore. Some of them do look a certain way that have been isolated in Africa or in India or in America. But when you go into places like Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, right? When you go into places like Australia, the Israelites don't look the same as they look in the Americas. So finally, I want to say that we had a chance to deal with brothers, privately about this issue. And we are against you brothers. Every single brother out there that's a so-called Latino and that's a so-called Negro that's teaching that the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans are not Israelites, we publicly let you brothers know that we against you brothers. And you brothers have let us know publicly that you're against us. All right? Because you calling us Mongoloid, and you calling us you calling us Hamites, you calling us Canaanites, you calling us half-breeds. All right? And it's very disrespectful to use terms like that.
Mamzer too, I believe.
All right, calling us mamzers, because we read in the Bible already how Ephraim and Manasseh, their mother was a Hamite. Aseneth, the daughter of Potiphar, was a Hamite from the nation of Mizraim, Matazarium, so-called Egyptian. So you brothers are disrespecting our foremothers when you come up with this garbage that you're teaching about this person is a mamzer because they don't have two Israelite or two black parents. Well, what do you call all Ephraimites? No matter what they look like today, whether they look black today, whether they look Spaniard today, whether they look dark or Middle Eastern, they had a Hamite mother, and they are 100% Israelites. Their father Joseph is one of the most upright men that we read about in the scriptures. All right, so you have to stop this foolishness that you're teaching. The so-called Mexicans, whether they look black or whether they look Latino, Hispanic, or whether they look Native American, those are Israelites. And the reason that we can speak authoritatively about this topic is that we spent 3 years in Mexico living amongst the Mexicans, going to the stores where they go to. Neighbors on the left, neighbors on the right, neighbors across the street. In our colonia, in our privada. All right, we know about Mexico. We lived in Mexico. All right, I lived in Central America amongst Belizeans from the tribe of Ephraim, from the tribe of Dan, and from the tribe of Benjamin. So when we talk about these tribes, we're talking quite authoritatively because we love our people enough to uproot ourselves and to go where they are. We're not keyboard scholars. Right now, we're making this video to you from the middle of Turkey, over by Ephesus that you read about in the scriptures, and over by the church of Smyrna that you read about in the scriptures. We're in Turkey right now. We picked up our lives and we moved into the Middle East, into the Eastern Hemisphere, because we want to be amongst our people, and we've learned a lot.
Okay.
Tell them about Rajab and then his father, what Rajab looks like and what his father looks like.
Right, Rajab, who owns a fabric store. If you look at him at first hand, you think he's a so-called white boy. But when you look at his father, you see a shade of darkness. And then when you look at his father's grandfather, who he showed us a picture of, okay, he's even darker. So what you see is that through his generations, he started from a dark skin complexion. But because his father married outside of his race, ethnicity, this is why he looks the way he looks today. Okay, and that happened to a lot of Israelites when you go to the other parts of the world. Okay.
So what we're saying is that we know these things from personal experience, not because of what we read inside of a book, all right? Not because I've slept under the roof of brothers and sisters, all right, that are from so-called Aztec blood in Oaxaca, Mexico, in Ecatepec, Mexico, all right? Brothers that speak Quechua Mopan in Central America. I've slept in their houses. I've slept in the house of Benjamin, of Levi, under the roof with Levites and under the roof with Judites. Slept in the house with Issacharites and talking with them, Zebulon, all right, and with Danites, you see. We experience and we live amongst the tribes of Israel, man.
Okay.
So a lot of you, brother, you talking about the tribes according to what you read in the book or what you think or feel. We basing our ultimate doctrine on what we believe as the children of Israel on what?
On what we seen and what we investigated, along with the biblical evidence that's found in the scriptures.
So the final deciding matter is going to be what?
Scriptures.
The final deciding matter is going to be the scriptures. And inside the scriptures, the book that we have to make sure we come in compliance with in the scriptures is what?
The Torah.
Is the Torah. So whatever we say and believe about the tribes is coming from the Torah. Everything you look at, if you go into the videos that we made about the tribes, is coming from the Torah. Genesis 49, Leviticus chapter 26, all right, Deuteronomy chapter 28, Deuteronomy chapter 33. It's coming from the Torah, all right? So now if we can go into the book of
Ezekiel
37, and I'll read from verse 15. And it says, the word of YAHAWAH came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions.
So we have two sticks. Okay, one stick shall be written Judah, Benjamin, and part of Levi. And then the other stick shall be written Ephraim and the other tribes listed. Okay, and these two sticks are going to be joined together by the word of the Heavenly Father. Continue.
Verse 17. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand.
How shall they become one in thy hand? When they believe in the Torah, when they believe in the commandments of the Heavenly Father, when they believe in the wisdom of YAHAWASHI and MASHAYACH, when they understand brotherhood and the articles of belief and the code of ethics, how to operate as one body, two tribes coming together to form one body, which is the body of Yasha, our nation. That's how they shall become one. We cannot become one with bad choice of words and hatred, animosity, division. We can only become one under the laws, statutes, commandments of the Bible. That is the foundation of our nation, the Bible, the Holy Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth. You want to add something?
So it says we're going to become two sticks, going to become one. And what a lot of you brothers are doing is you trying to go. Now, let me tell you brothers something, man. All right, I've been down into Mexico. And I've lived in Mexico. Like I said, I lived in Mexico for 3 years. I went down into Mexico by myself and went and looked for the indigenous peoples in Mexico, as well as the people in Mexico that look so-called Negro. And you know what I found out? All right? What I found out is that them brothers and sisters down in Mexico that are indigenous and that are looking so-called Negro are together. They're not divided. They're not divided. So the Most High had put them two tribes together, them two families of different families of Issachar together in one place, so-called Negro looking and indigenous looking. And they down there together as one people. You see that? So when you sit from America and you try to say, oh, the Negro Mexicans are different than the indigenous Mexicans, you don't know what you're talking about. There's no vexation. There's no oppression. They side by side. They both being oppressed by the government that's being run and taking instructions from United Nations. So that's what's going on. So when you sit behind a computer or a keyboard and you see what's going on from your keyboard, but then when you go down there, the brothers and sisters, they get along. And that's what I want to say. That even within Issachar, within all tribes, okay, you have families that are light, families that are dark. And for you to base your summation on something so trivial and so superficial as a tone of skin is totally adverse to the parameters that we're supposed to be using, which is the Torah, to make our final call. All right, so you want me to keep going down to 21?
Con, what verse you at now, 17?
Con.
Okay.
Verse 18, Ezekiel 37:18. And then the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these?
So our people are going to ask, what do you mean by these two sticks, Judah and Ephraim, being joined together? What is the meaning of this? Spiritual. And the answer is?
Say unto them, thus saith Adonai YAHAWAH, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand.
So he's taking these two sticks and combining them to become one bigger stick, a bigger rod, and what he's going to do with this one rod, Judah and Ephraim. Well, we can go to a couple of scriptures, but the one that comes to mind is Jeremiah 51, verse 19, okay? That the Most High will use us as a battle axe and weapons of war, and with us, he will break in pieces the nations. So to use us as a nation, he has to join us to be a nation.
Shall I read that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jeremiah 51:19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. YAHAWAH of hosts is his name.
So we see the combination of Judah and Ephraim as the 12 tribes of Israel, as the rod of the Heavenly Father, being joined together by his word, Yahweh's word. Continue.
Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. So
we are the battle axe and weapons of war. We will be gathered together as that great army under the Heavenly Father. But the only way this army is going to be gathered together is northern and southern kingdom coming together, Torah and YAHAWASHI HaMASHAYACH, in order, in obedience to the moral, civil, and dietary laws found in the scriptures. No other way. Go ahead.
With thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. So
kingdoms will be destroyed when the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Judah come together. Northern and southern kingdom becoming one. One rod, one stick, which the Most High will use as that battle axe and weapons of war to break in pieces the nations and to destroy kingdoms. We have to come together. Going back to Ezekiel 37. Go ahead. You wanted to comment?
Let me comment real quick and say this, that we see that the Most High is saying he's going to bring Ephraim and Judah together. All right, so I want to say a couple of things on that. Number one, I want to say a lot of you brothers are you're so fervent you're so fervent in your belief that I'm not an Israelite, that the so-called Native Americans and the Native Americans that don't look Negro, which I look Negro now, but my great-great-great-grandfather didn't look Negro like so-called Negro like I look. But you're so content. I mean, you're so stuck on these people here are Israelites. But yet still, you know, it's us that are going to Mexico to teach and live amongst our people there. It's us that are going to Central America to live amongst and to teach our people there. It's not you. So if I want to understand, if you really believe this, why are you only believing it on social media? Why aren't you putting your belief into practice and actually going to these people in Dominican Republic and telling them, hey, your uncle that looks lighter than you, that don't look Negro, looks Indian, he's not an Israelite. But you that look Negro, see, it doesn't work when once you go there, because a lot of y'all don't know how complex our genealogy is when you come from the house of Israel.
Right.
We don't look one way. Judah may have one certain look. When you come from the house of Israel, we got one family that may have 3 or 4 different nose types, hair textures, all right? Facial structure. So you can't base anything on, you know, what somebody's looking like in terms of looking Native American or looking so-called Negro.
Looks are superficial.
So that's the first thing we want to say. The second thing we want to say is that the Most High said these 2 sticks are going to come together.
Okay. He said it, not us.
So if these 2 sticks are going to come together, the Most High is saying that if you working against that prophecy, you working for Satan, man.
Okay.
If you work against the indigenous, the people of Negro and Indian descent coming together, you're doing a job of the devil, man. Because the people of Negro and Indian descent, we was together during and after slavery. And we had some black people that had slaves, and we had some indigenous people that had slaves on both sides of the equation.